What's up, guys? So pretty much just like the title says, I bought a truck and it already blew up, and I don't even think I drove this one 1,000 miles before it blew up, and this one might be my fault, but we'll see. Come on, play the thing. So this is a truck I bought from a good friend of mine, and he actually asked me to kind of keep it a little bit private, so I'm not going to give you guys too many details on the truck or where it was or any of that, but what I will tell you is a little bit about it. It's a 1964 C20, so it's a single cab long bed truck, and it's got a 4-speed transmission in it, and the truck came with a straight 6 engine. I'm going to be swapping that out, but I think we're going to cover that one in another video. This video is just going to pretty much be story time about how I got the truck. So as you guys can see in the pictures, the truck was in pretty rough shape when I got it. It's just been sitting for a little while, but you know, it was still a pretty good running truck. It still had brakes, the brake lines are good. The owner just had a lot of other things he had to tend to, so that truck kind of fell by the wayside a little bit. But it's still a great truck, had pretty nice paint on it, at least for how old the truck is. So I did what I always do, and I said, what the hell, what's the worst that can happen? It didn't take all that much effort to get the truck to run. All we really did was put a new set of points in it, give it a battery, some starter fluid. It fired right up, right after we set the point gap correctly, that is. Then right after that, I had the truck towed to my garage so I could freshen it up a little bit. I could have driven it home, but I decided not to because, you know, you always run into little surprises like that, and it was probably a 30-minute drive. So once I got the truck in my possession, I just went to town on it. I started tearing the interior apart, truck got a new gas tank. I didn't put new brakes on it yet because the old ones actually checked out just fine, but I flushed all the fluids, changed the oil, changed the coolant. I even put some noise reduction panels on the floor, that way maybe it could be a little bit quieter to drive, and actually it did drastically help. So here I am, driving this prehistoric Chevy that I just dragged out of the weeds, and for the most part I'm coming out on top. You know, we got it for a reasonable price, and everything checked out with it for the most part. No real surprises. And you know that's pretty much the peak of the story. So here's what happens next. I don't officially know what killed my engine, but I'm pretty sure we ran it a little too low on the oil. I was driving it on the highway and I noticed a slightly louder tapping sound, you know, just a little bit above normal. I looked down at the oil pressure gauge and it was a little lower than it should have been. So if you know a little bit about how engines work, if you've hit that point where you're making loud noises and you've had 0 psi oil pressure, you probably already blew it up. So at this point, I was just like, all right, looks like I'm just going to drive it home, and you know, that's the end of it. From there, it was only a 2-minute drive, so I was pretty much already there anyway. The engine was burning a lot more oil than I thought it was. So if your engine's burning oil like that, especially that drastically, the time's pretty much up anyway. You need a rebuild. So I don't really feel that beat up about it, but if I kept filling it up, it probably would still be on the road right now, and that's the truth. I let somebody else hear the noise, and he thought maybe it was just a valve tap, and turns out that wasn't true either. It was a little hard getting that lifter out, but just by pure coincidence, we called up the local Pet Boys, and turns out they had 4 of those things in stock. So unbelievable. We'll never get that lucky again. It must have been their last one. The box looked like it was from 1973. It didn't fix the engine, but it saved me the tow. So I was able to drive it to my garage one last time, where it sits right now, and you guys are going to see it. This is a 1964 Chevy C20 pickup truck, and today I'm going to show you all of its quirks and features. There are none. I'm just kidding. Kinda. Although this truck does have something pretty cool. Alright, but seriously, this is actually a pretty sweet truck, even though it's a little bit beat up. It's just, this is the truck you hop in and you can just drive it anywhere. You don't care if it gets bumped into. Chances are whoever hits it is going to have more damage on their car than on this. So as you might have been able to guess, I already started tearing everything apart because This whole thing's coming out. I'm going to put a V8 in the truck pretty soon. Heater hoses out, pretty much all the spark plug wires, I ripped all those out. To be a little honest here, I was actually kind of bummed this truck blew up so soon. I put a little bit of work into it already just to make it more roadworthy. Well, not exactly a bragging point on newer cars. This thing has working heat, which is more than I can say for my 54, but we'll talk about that later. I actually will show you guys the interior again and show you a couple of the things that I did. Once again, not perfect by any means, but this is a great truck that you can just hop in and not really care what happens to it. But there is one more thing I really want to say. So, it's kind of no secret that these trucks are not fast. They're really rough riding. They're not smooth. And at least by comparison to newer normal cars, they're not exactly what I would call reliable. You know, this one's sitting here with a blown engine. So on paper, I guess you could say this thing has no redeeming qualities that kind of separates it from something else that, you know, I could put in this garage. But honestly, that's just not true. I can't really explain it, but for some reason when you get behind the wheel of like an older vehicle, or honestly even in the passenger seat, you know, you'll either appreciate it or you won't. Not everybody will, but there's something to be said about kind of just, it's literally a simple pleasure, literally. Like there's no frills of any kind. It's basically just you and this giant tin can driving down the road, and there's something about it. It just feels, you feel really connected to the road, and every little thing you do affects the way these things drive. You have to set your point gap. You have to make sure your timing is adjusted. You have to use a timing light. You have to make sure you're generating enough vacuum, and if any of those little values aren't correct, these things don't run right, and you know, you kind of need some old school tools to get the job done correctly. And there's something rewarding about doing that because it's kind of a lost skill. So if that's something that you can do, and you know, you can kind of keep these old things running, even though, like I said, it is kind of a dying skill, it's really fun. So these old cars really do kind of have their own distinctive feel to them. There's really nothing else like them. Whether you like them or not, I can't tell you. You just kind of have to take a ride in one and see what you think for yourself. But I think it's something that's worth preserving and putting time and energy into. So that's why I do what I do, and I love it. So stick around for more on Betsy. I think I'm going to do another video of me putting the next engine in this, and hopefully I won't blow that one up. So stay tuned, subscribe if you like it, and thanks for watching.